Peace. What's good? How y'all doing? Today is Sunday, January 19th, 2025. I pray that this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. I am doing well, getting more clear and concise by day. I hope that my frequency music in the background is complimentary of my voice. I know I always say that, but I always say it because I'm always conscientious of it. But I really find a lot of maybe I should move it a little. Let's try this. So it's not competing with me. I think that should be better. I always like to have that frequency energy close by me so that I can, it balances me out, so to speak. And then I want the sound to convey in the video as well. So the fine line is having it loud enough where it's not conflicting with my voice, but then having it low enough so that you guys can hear me clearly. So with all of that being said, what's good? How y'all doing, family? The topic I want to talk about today is the seasons of self, which this title came to me earlier as I was just processing some different things, including this inauguration, which is why I referenced it in the topic. So we'll get into that in just a second. I'm also going to record the Ask Me Anything video. I got a couple of questions from YouTube followers, not from the membership channel, but a couple of questions from YouTube followers pertaining to bentonite clay, pertaining to women's health and fibroids, and overall health and well-being. And so both those conversations run parallel to each other. So I'm going to record that. I was actually thinking about going live this evening just because of the whole atmosphere with the inauguration. And it's really ironic because I'm not tapped into that energy at all. Like I'm super, I'm just, it's not really a part of my active reality right now. And so as I'm watching the engagement online, on social media, etc., it's like I'm on the outside looking in, right? But I'm going to post the Ask Me Anything. I'll decide after I finish talking, depending on how long I talk here. If I'm going to do the live, I was thinking about doing the live today, Hollywood, the finale, because I actually have more than enough content for the first video. I just did a compilation of all of my content pertaining to celebrity Hollywood, culture in the last couple of years. And yeah, I looked up and had like 65, 70 slides. And it's all stuff that's relative to what I want to talk about anyway. So I just need to sit down and configure that. But I was considering doing that live today with you guys. But I think because the inauguration, if I do the live, it'll just be, us having a conversation. And I would love for you guys to join me on video via whether you can join by video or audio to join in on that conversation if I do the live, but we'll see. I'm going to do the book club, my next book club meeting February 1st live on YouTube. I'm going to do my next group meditation, which is going to have an emphasis on breath work live on YouTube on February 2nd. That's Sunday. That'll be a 20-minute group meditation. I'm working on kind of piecing together an expose on the recent fires in LA and making the correlation between that and Lahaina, as well as the last 15, maybe 20 years of fires in California. And I am going to put that out very soon. I am probably going to put a clip of it up on YouTube and then have the full video for everybody to watch directly from my website so that I can avoid getting censored and getting strikes on my page and all of the stuff that comes with living in a world of censorship and being a content creator. That's the beauty of having my own site. Anytime there's any funny business on YouTube or any of these platforms, I can say what I want and do what I want on my own site. And that's another reason why I am offering running this special campaign right now. $50 for access to my membership channel. So $50 special pass with no subscription, no renewal, to my website to have access to all of my content, which includes topics, subjects, and conversations like what we're talking about today. The book club meeting, the group meditations, we do those once a month. The town hall talks, which we just did the other day. We usually have more people, but I think probably everybody was feeling some type of way about being live on YouTube because it's the difference in talking to 10 people versus talking to, 150. So I get that. But town hall talks, my headline news episodes, which I premiere every 2 weeks, which I'm also going to be posting one of those on YouTube soon. We do challenges, we do group meetups, we do a lot of different things, and it's cultivating a tribe and raising the vibration in terms of the level of consciousness and conversation. So that is all. Everything you see here is what I do in my membership channel, among other things. So I'm running that special right now to raise capital for my ancient people textbook, which is a 349-page full color textbook that focuses on ancient, indigenous, Black, African cultures around the world. Everything from Sakanuye no Tamuramaro to Queen Pharaoh Hatshepsut, to Queen Tetisheri of the Kemetic dynasty, 17th dynasty, excuse me. Let's see who else. Nefertari Amos, Queen Lili Ogalani, Queen Amana Reines. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Haile Selassie, Merowe, and Kerma, and Taseti, the land of the bow. Just going off the head, family. Let's see who else. Man, I should. This is my book. The Jomon people of ancient Japan, the Chinese Boxers Rebellion of 1900, the Jia dynasty, and the Fushi and Nuwa, and who else? What else? Just off the top of my head. Come on, Zaza, you can come better than that. I said Queen Amana Reines, Queen Amana Shiketo, Yasuke, the African samurai. I mean, what are we doing? You know what I mean? The things that we said we needed in the culture, I've created. And now I'm asking you guys for your support in helping me get it out into the world and into the schools. It is a full-fledged textbook, unlike anything that's on the market right now. And I've actually split the book in two. So I have a hardcover version and a paperback version that's only the reader version, and then separated the textbook version, or the workbook aspect of it. So that adds a whole other dichotomy to it, particularly when it comes to colleges, high schools, universities, right? So I'm just asking my people, my supporters, for assistance in helping me to do what everybody always says needs to be done. And ironically, I've been doing a lot of the things that everybody says needs to be done for like 15 years now, publicly. So I'm asking my supporters and all of you guys that might stumble upon this content, those of you guys that are new to my channel, those of you guys that appreciate the content and level of conversation, this is a reciprocal ask, because in return, by supporting this campaign, you are going to have consistent access to all of this content and over 500 other videos about from all other great minds, and then as well as my content, and a whole other plethora of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding when it comes to the science of self and the seasons of self, which is what we're about to talk to now. All of that is included on my website. Okay, so let me just, I'm also going to do, okay, so I said the Fires expose, I said the Hollywood finale series. I already have part 1 of that pretty much done. And then Indulgence versus Discipline part 2, where I'm honing in and focusing on women. Part 1 was dealing with men and indulgence versus discipline in terms of sex and, self-control, etc. Part 2 is going to be that same thing, but it's going to be particular to women. And I'm having these conversations for, just like the first one, I said this conversation is about men and directed to men, but it's for all of us to be listening and participating, because women and girls need to really, I think we need to start, changing the dichotomy of how we're interacting, engaging with the opposite sex. We need to raise the standard and raise the bar on those engagements and interactions. And the majority of men that women engage, that deal with in their lifetime, are never going to be their mate, right? And vice versa. So there's a much larger conversation that needs to be had in terms of these things. And this indulgence versus discipline conversation is one of those, my contributions to that effect, okay? So if you have cousins or brothers or, teenagers or young men in your life where you want to kind of start directing the conversation in a certain direction, then that's definitely the video for you to share. All right. Last but certainly not least, I'm going to be speaking next Saturday in Los Angeles, California, as Soul Folks. I'm going to be in honor of my challenge, one of the challenges I do consistently in the membership channel of putting love out into the world. I'm going to make this event public, open to the public. So any of my followers or followers of my work, pardon me, correct that language, followers of my work or my content, or just love some ZaZa Ali, my tribe, my people out in the world, you can come and join us. And I'm going to put the link in the description where you can download a ticket. Just do that for me so I can get an idea of how many people we have coming. I said that in the last video, but now I have the link ready to go. So I will post that. And then if you want to join us for dinner before we open the doors and have it accessible to the public, then you can purchase a ticket and that information will be in the description as well. And I took $10 off of the ticket price because it's going to be partially a private event and then partially a public event. Okay. So this is my contribution to the vibration and frequency of Los Angeles, and particularly in Leimert Park. And, the people of Altadena and the people, not just the people that were directly impacted by the fires, but all of us. Like, this is a whole traumatizing situation that whether you were affected directly or indirectly, unless you're not a human being, you know what I mean? Unless you're not actually operating in the compassion frequency bandwidth of the human experience, then yeah, you should definitely be sitting up a little bit straighter right now if you are in the Los Angeles or Southern California vicinity, let alone all of California, let alone all of America. I mean, the inadequacy that has played out right in front of us literally days before a presidential election. And for me to see all of the fanfare online right now and in the world right now, based on this election, with everything else happening in the background, it is absolutely fascinating. So I want to talk about the seasons of self, and what a couple of things made me come up with that title. The first thing is the fire and ice element that we all just experienced. West Coast fire, East Coast ice, right? And the polarity and the extreme polarities of that, right? This is the dealing in the natural elements, and how the natural elements are a reflection of things that are happening in the broader collective consciousness. And this takes nothing away from weather modification and all that other stuff, because another conversation for another time. But fire and ice, and then you look at the extreme polarities of the red versus blue, the woke versus MAGA, right? And the people on the right side, or the right left, let's see, make sure I got my bearings straight. The people on the right side, super Republican, super pro-Trump, super MAGA, don't realize that the people on the left are looking at them like they're insane. And then the irony is that the people on the right are looking at the people on the left like they're insane. And they're both emphatic about it. And it's such a microcosm. No, that's not a microcosm of a macrocosm, which is that our inability to see ourselves, our inability to self-correct on an individual level or in the collective consciousness. So you so busy, so loud, so emphatic in your position, so emphatic about your guy or your gal, that we have a whole culture now that's all about finger pointing. But anybody that has any sense of any sort of wisdom, which I'm going to read a passage about in just a second, any sort of wisdom, any sort of proper understanding of the timeline that we're living in right now, understands that the most formidable things that we can do on an individual level or collective level is to be looking within. So with the fire and ice element, with the extreme polarization, with the Democratic versus Republican Party, and then you got the other ones of us that are just standing back looking at all of y'all. That would include me. I'm just standing back watching it all. And the movie and the Hollywood element of it all. That's why it's such a mind-boggling thing to be here in LA, right in Hollywood, right in the thick of all of it. And I'm seeing the way things are playing out here and why how this place is setting up for a larger agenda that's unfolding. We're all in the movie. The camera on your laptop, the camera on your phone, the camera in your refrigerator. Some people have cameras in the refrigerator, the camera on your watch, right? We're all a part of the movie watching it all go down. Your personal universal clock is that those things that I just related, and then the seasons of self representing your unique individual timeline and time clock. And one of the other things that inspired me to have this conversation with you guys, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and we were talking about deciding whether or not to fast right now, right? And even the consideration of when to fast versus when not, right? Because it's mad dense on the East Coast, especially in the Washington, D.C. area, an extreme polarization in that area of electing somebody who a highly democratic environment is highly charged against. And then I'm in an environment right now that's very delicate and everything is super fragile, and everybody that's living that have viable operating heart chakras in this area are fragile. And if you're anywhere in California or any major city in America for that matter, and you're striving to be righteous and you're striving to live an upright life, be in this world and not of this world, I can guarantee you the challenge is on right now. I don't even need to know your story. So I put up a post that I found from 2023 where I said, shared it in my story. The righteous will get the last laugh, but the righteous won't be laughing at anyone's. No, let me say it right. The righteous ones among us will get the last laugh, but we won't be laughing at anyone's suffering because we're righteous. That's why we can't participate in this silliness and in this insanity and get caught up on the red and blue frequency, or get caught up on the I hate men, I hate women frequency, or get caught up in the race-based frequency. I'm going to do this video too. I forgot to mention it, my gift to white America. And that's going to be my contribution to the close of the race-based frequency, because we already off that. There's white supremacy is a thing of the past. Really need to stop saying it altogether. That frequency has already run its course. Look at the recent examples of white manhood in terms of the political spectrum in America. I know a lot of the pro-Trump people, think he's the best thing since sliced bread. I get it. And this isn't even a biased assessment, what I'm saying, because I've been reporting on this stuff for years now, and even just paying attention. There's a lot of people in the world and in America that you know what I mean, don't see Donald Trump the way you guys see him. There's a laughable element to it. Just like there was a laughable element to Kamala. Just like there's a super laughable element, laugh now, cry later, when it comes to Biden. So they've intentionally been placing certain types of archetypes and figures in front of us in position of power to undercut the belief in the democratic system and the way that politics, the power, the actual power in politics, which we've seen all but fizzle out post 2020. So let me start with my quote. Let me start. I'm already 21 minutes in. This is a quote from Mastery Through Accomplishment by Hazrat Inayat Khan. Shout out to all of my book club members. I know I'm getting ahead on you guys, but I love this book. I love this brother's mind so much. And we're still going to read this anyway. But he has a chapter called The Knowledge of Warfare. Not a chapter, but a section in this chapter called The Knowledge of Warfare. And I started reading this today, and I was already thinking about this seasons of self concept, right? But I wasn't reading this to emphasize that point. I was just reading it. Sometimes I just open it and look and read through certain sections. But alas, he said exactly something that was super relative to the point that I'm trying to make here. So on page 116, he says, again, this is the knowledge of warfare. In this continual battle of life, the one who stands firm through it all comes out of it victorious in the end. Even with all power and understanding, if one gives up through lack of hope and courage, one has failed. What brings bad luck in this life, in this battle, is a pessimistic attitude. And what helps man to conquer in the battlefield of life, however difficult, is an optimistic attitude. There are some in this world who look at life with a pessimistic view, thinking that it is clever to see the dark side of things. To some extent, it is beneficial to see the difficult side also, but the psychological law is such that once the spirit is impressed with the difficulty of the situation, it loses its hope and courage. Once a person asked me if I looked at life with a pessimistic attitude or if I was an optimist. I said, an optimist with open eyes. Optimism is good as long as the eyes are open, but once the eyes are closed, then optimism can be dangerous. In this battle, drill is necessary, and that drill is the control over one's physical organs and over the faculties of mind. For if one is not prepared for this battle, however courageous and optimistic one may be, one cannot succeed. Another thing is to know something about this warfare, to know when to retreat and when to advance. When I heard that passage, I had already been, underscoring certain things within it, but when he said that, right, that clicked in and locked in with the whole point that I wanted to make about the seasons of self, when to retreat and when to advance. If one does not know how to retreat and wishes always to advance, one will continually be in danger and become a victim of life's battle. There are many people who, in the intoxication of life's battle, go on battling. I had to make sure I was reading that right. In the intoxication of life's battle, that's a hell of a concept right there. The intoxication of life's battle. Go on battling, go on fighting. In the end, they will meet with failure. Young people, strong and hopeful, who have fewer difficulties, may think of nothing else but battling against all that stands in their way. They do not know that it is not always wise to advance. What is necessary is first to fortify the position and then to advance. One can see the same thing in friendship, in business, or in one's profession. A person does not understand the secret of the law of warfare. A person who does not understand the secret of the law of warfare cannot succeed. Now, we're talking about spiritual kung fu. This is the divine feminine he's talking about. When to advance versus when to retreat. And having obviously the retreat aspect being the feminine aspect and the advance being the masculine aspect. But then the feminine is also having the foresight to make the assessment in the first place. Do I need to attend to this in an advanced, be on the offensive? Or do I need to be still and be quiet? And the intuition to have those levels of conversation with yourself, the self-awareness to have those type of conversations with yourself is the divine feminine. You know, we said Newt, the whole image I showed in the yoga is yoga demonic, and the whole representation as Newt being the divine feminine with the arms and the legs overstretched, overshadowing, overcovering everything. Not some things, but everything on a universal level. That's that full 360 spectrum representation and vantage point. It's not linear. That's the divine feminine, the womb. We also don't understand the subtleties of war. That's why this technological and electronic and digital war that's taking place, as sophisticated as it is, we don't understand the subtleties of war. I cannot wait until I do this presentation on these fires. I have so much documentation at this point to kind of back up and how the white lines in the sky tied to all of this is actually, you know, it's to be in it and to be a part of it is one thing, but to actually stand back and look at the audacity of it. They're operating through seasons too. We think even the intention of controlling the weather. Nothing is more emphatic in terms of seasons than the weather. Unforgiving and at the same time nurturing and nourishing as the weather. That's the masculine right there representation. The tenacity of a volcano or the tenacity of an earthquake or the tenacity of a storm versus the peace and beauty of being in a forest where it's quiet and there's nothing but birds chirping and wind breezing off of tree branches. You see that masculine and feminine representation in nature? He goes on to say, besides, one must protect one's own on all sides. Very often what one does in the intoxication of the battle is to go on and on without protecting what belongs to one. How many people in the courts and in law cases for perhaps a very little thing go on spending and spending money? In the end, the loss is greater than the success. Again, how many in this world will perhaps lose more than they gain only because of their fancy on pride or pride? There are times when one must give in. There are times when one must relax things somewhat. And there are times when one must hold fast the reins of life. There are moments when one must be persistent, and there are moments when one must be easy. I mean, there's so many jewels in those, just having that perspective. That's one thing I had to learn over the last year and a half when I was super ready, like ready to hit the ground running, like, okay, I'm ready now, I'm ready now, I'm ready. And I really wasn't ready because I still had heart work to tend to. I still had abandonment issues and, you know, trauma from neglect issues to tend to, not because I wasn't, you know, I hadn't gotten over it or I hadn't healed from it, but because at the state of my consciousness and awareness that I'm in at this point in my life, there are still other tidbits of wisdom and proper understanding and knowledge of self for me to receive from those experiences at the stage I'm at right now. So it doesn't mean I failed when I went through this test 10 years ago. It means there's a new level of wisdom to be unlocked. And I'm saying that for everybody listening that feels like I've been working so hard and doing my best and trying my best and ain't nobody supporting me and don't nobody care and nobody's giving, you know, paying attention to the fact that I'm trying to do good and I'm trying to get right. And people want to support you when you want to have a drink, when you want to turn up. They want to support you when it's time to go out and, you know, and pour into everything, the simulation. You want to be active in that vibration. It's all hands on deck. But when you actively striving to do right, be right, live right, think clearer, think better, people want to ask you, make fun of the fact that you eat plant-based. I just find that fascinating. Opposed to what, pork? What, Popeyes? McDonald's? There are times when one must give in. There are times when one must relax things somewhat. And there are times when one must hold fast the reins of life. There are moments when one must be persistent, and there are moments when one must be easy. The seasons of self. There's a time to lean into a relationship, and when there's still understanding and proper perspective to gain from it, and there's a time to let it go. There's a time to do see. Come on, Zaza, you can do this. There's a time to um, fast. Oh, this was the thing I was trying to say earlier, and I lost my train of thought, or I went into something else. I was having a conversation about fasting and fasting right now. And as you guys know, I started the year with a 5 day fast. I went from It was 5 days. So by New Year's Eve, I was on day two, and then on New Year's Day, I was on day three, and I went for 5 days, ending it that Friday. That was a perfect critical time for me to fast because I knew that the density in the air, from the firecrackers to the guns to the partying to the turn up to the everything that comes with the vibration of those type of celebrations, which are usually not or of a higher vibration nature, so to speak, right? And no, nothing against partying and turn up. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying, right? But that was a important time for me to fast and to set the tone for how I want to start the year. I know it's not the actual real spring New Year, but if anytime you have billions of people that have actually accepted something in the mainframe of the matrix, which is what New Year's starting on January 1st of every year is, it has been accepted into the collective consciousness, right? We're all off on January 1st, no business is being conducted. So it is a new year. It's just not that new year, but it is in the main frame of consciousness a new year, right? That's why we are all saying 2025 now, and it's not March yet. Okay? You get my point. So, why did I go into the turn up? Let me come back to my book so I can finish this part up. Um, life is such an intoxicating, life is such an intoxication that although everybody thinks that he is working in his own interest, hardly one among 1,000 is really doing so. And the reason is that people become so absorbed in what they are trying to get that they become intoxicated by it and they lose the track that leads to real success. Very often, people, in order to get one particular benefit, sacrifice many other benefits because they do not think of them. The thing to do is look all around, not only in one direction. The easy, I'm sorry. It is easy to be powerful. It is easy to be good, but it is difficult to be wise. And it is the wise who are truly victorious in life. The success of those who possess power or of those who perhaps goodness, who possess power or of those who perhaps have goodness has its limitations. One would be surprised if one knew how many people bring about their failures themselves. There is hardly one person in 100 who really works for his true advantage, although everyone thinks that he does. Now I'm going to stop there with that, but I want to emphasize a couple of points that he makes here because this is critical to the points of the season of self. Knowledge of yourself is different than knowledge of self, right? So we have the knowledge of self with the ancient people textbook and with the history of, Black people in America and the history of, global history and world history and American history and, the cultural aspects and spirituality and religion and the way we dress and, the way the particular language, right? All of those things are a knowledge of self. And then there's knowledge of yourself. And so when I this thing about the seasons of self and even your personal universal time clock, I noticed at a certain point that sometimes when I will be going through something difficult, my phone wouldn't ring. And it would be a time where in my mind I would be thinking, this is when I could really use a call. You know what I'm saying? Or like any other time my phone would be blowing up off the hook, or people texting me, just, all of that with all of the people that have access to me to contact me, right? But there's certain periods where my phone won't ring at all. That's because the universe and because my inner intention and my inner being, there's an inner knowing that's connected to the greater consciousness that knows that this is the time right now for me to be quiet and for me to be still, and I need limited interaction with other people and having to deal with their vibration or to, right, translate, transmute, etc., etc. This is the time for me to be within myself, to only have to deal with and process and calculate my vibration, my mindset, my thinking, my feeling. When you love people, you automatically do those things. When you care about people, you automatically do those things, right? So there's respecting and understanding that calendar while at your personal universal calendar, while at the same time honoring and respecting and valuing those relationships at the level of care and compassion and concern that they have in your life. Because everything needs to be watered. Everybody needs to be watered. This is why, the important revelation for me is like, I have to be very conscientious and mindful about how much I pour into other people, because I'm naturally a giver. I'm naturally invested in the people that are in my life and wanting to help them be better, do better, right? It's an investment for me energetically, mentally, spiritually, etc. Even in my platform, the goal and focus for all of the content is to help us get a little bit better, a little bit clearer, a little bit more concise, a little bit more powerful. It's a reciprocal thing when you guys leave messages and tell me about you know what I mean? The experiences that you've had as a result of listening or watching or engaging or coming to see me or reading my books. Yeah, that's a whole different, that's a spiritual level of transmutation that I will always be grateful for. But there are seasons and sometimes, and some of us will go into a deeper sense of like depression because the phone's not ringing, not even able to tap into the God consciousness that should tell us, like mine told me, yeah, the phone's not ringing because it's not supposed to. Everybody's on notice, whether they know it or not. That's why that whole conversation about submission in the dichotomy of relationships is so kindergarten, because we're all in submission. If you're not in submission to your inner being or your higher self or a larger, the divine mind of God, so to speak, in terms of your best interest, because the only reason God wants us to be in submission of anything is because it's going to help us grow and fly and expand. That's why, this like a man's responsibility is to add to the beauty of a woman, to amplify her beauty. That's what the masculine does. It amplifies the beauty and the magnificence of the feminine. So a man's responsibility is to amplify her beauty. On a physical level, we could talk about finances. On a mental level, we could talk about her helping her to embellish and to engage the higher aspects of her mind and to be creative and to be a thinker and to be able to make choices and decisions from her authentic self without being afraid. That's amplifying the beauty of a woman. Emotionally, she should be strong in the heart chakra aspect of who she is, leading with love not only in her household but in the world. Not on some You know, I'm on YouTube broadcasting every day, but every room I walk in represents the divine. The energy that I bring with me represents the divine feminine, amplifying the beauty of her spiritually. That's why a lot of these conversations that are being had online on these podcasts, they have absolutely no spiritual connotation to them. That's why the same conversations just keep being had over and over and over. There's no depth in spirituality. There's no depth in the conversation. We need depth in our in our connections, in our relationships, in our tribes, and the people that are around us. Depth in connections. That's the intention and the vibration that we are intentionally manifesting in 2025 and beyond. For the 144,000 children of the sun, children of the Most High, warriors of the Most High, whatever Elohim, Allah, the Neteru, God having a human experience called ZaZa Ali, God having a human experience called you, Mother Nature, universe, divine mind, etc., etc. All of that is relative. All of that is welcome here. The 5% of the 5% is going to be a culmination of all of the religions, all of the cultures, all of the races. The caveat is that the original indigenous ancient peoples of this land have the advantage, not just because of the melanin aspect of it. And this is why the frequency and the energy part of this, the spiritual part of this, must be understood and respected. We have to qualify. But the advantage is that pendulum swing, going back to the passage I always talk about from the Kabbalion that talks about the closer you are to the center, the freer you are, and the further you are away from the center, the more in bondage you are. So because we come from the original source, do we need to do a video on anthropology? Because I can. I used to be having debates in college with my anthropologist teachers. So if we ever need to do that, we can do that too. It don't even need to be a debate. We could just have a conversation. But there's levels to that too, of physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. But let me stay focused. So the closer you are to the center, the more free you are. The further you are from it, the more in bondage you are. The European culture doesn't recognize that the system of what we have called racism, white supremacy, has taken them further away from the center or the God self. Are you saying that white people are gods or that white people are a part of the true and living gods? No, I'm saying that everything that's represented in the physical realm is a representation of the Most High, just with different vibrational resonances, playing different positions, acting out this whole theater that is what we call life. Higher self, lower self, best part of humanity, worst part of humanity. You know, that duality of what we call God, what we call the Most High, is in full swing in every area, in every aspect. And yeah, the story of Yakub and this ancient black scientist that allegedly was playing around with genes until he found another people and then wanted to manifest that people because he saw that the lower nature of the original people had the possibility to take charge. And here we are today, where I'm sitting back watching Los Angeles, a mecca of worldly culture. Whether you like it or not, we can all agree to the fact. Look at the vibration of Nipsey Hussle. That is a prerequisite of Los Angeles culture. 100%. Just like all of the other great minds and teachers and the powerful black energy that's here in Los Angeles. Yeah, we're going to respect that. We got to keep that in proper context while we're talking about how wicked Hollywood is. Look at the parallels of the wickedness and then the beauty, the roses that are growing from the concrete in Compton, in South Central. Kendrick Lamar could just be added into that equation. Kobe Bryant could absolutely be added into that equation. Tupac could absolutely be added into that equation. And me. I'm just saying, I'm here feeding on the energy and vibration of this place, the beauty and magnificence of the God frequency here, as well as the wisdom that I'm learning from the wickedness in this place. There's a dark ass cloud hovering over this place, over Los Angeles right now. I can feel it in my bones. That's why the Most High has kept me here. I know now. Most people sacrifice in order to get to one particular benefit, or let's say one particular goal. Most people sacrifice many other benefits because they do not think of them. This is the emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical aspect of yourself make up the fullness of your being. Our relationships aren't successful and aren't surviving in the long haul. And if they are surviving in the long haul, they're miserable, dissatisfied, unfulfilling relationships that we're holding on to just because everybody said we should. And maybe we should, but we can't hold on like this. We got to be seeking higher ground, because we're not all functioning on a mental, spiritual, emotional, and mental plane. We're not all intentionally focused on being clear and concise and true to ourselves in those regards. Because if we were, a man could never marry a woman that wasn't in alignment with his spiritual goals and aspirations, or who didn't speak the type of life and energy and spirit into his soul to help him find it if he doesn't know, and vice versa. Because we're going to correct this dichotomy that women aren't supposed to be spiritual leaders or teachers or serious scholars. Like, nah, that's that old world paradigm. That shit has run its course. We are being restored to our rightful place. It's part of the reason for this video and all of these videos. We got to be very mindful in terms of the seasons of self. When, let me finish that thought about the fasting thing. So we're having the conversation. And I was just like, yeah, I always feel like I need to fast, right? I'm always, kind of like, maybe I should just not eat this weekend, right? But it was like, nah, it's just something in the air that needs me to be a little bit more grounded right now. There's a density in the consciousness, in the collective consciousness. Our inauguration tomorrow included, everything happening in LA included, everything happening in the background included. I need to be a little bit closer to the ground right now, just in this moment. And having the wisdom and discernment to know. We have to be very mindful about the people that we are allowing into our inner spaces right now. We have to be very mindful to be intentional with attracting people that are in alignment and that are also intentional about making us our well-being a priority. And we have a lot of people in our lives, from family members to old friendships to relationships, that are not feeding us and that are, in a way, kind of harnessing our energy. I have so many people that, you know what I mean, that only call or I only talk to when they got something going on. And I pay attention to whether they ask about how I'm doing and how I'm feeling and all of those things. Yeah, those things really matter now. They do. We got to be mindful of not being on any of these frequency bandwidths of consciousness. Red, red frequency, blue frequency, black, white, race-based consciousness, all of those things. Male, female, gender wars, etc. We have to be very mindful. I don't want to be aligned with any of that. The amount of energy and attention, of course he's going to come back in and save the day for TikTok. Duh, that's so blatantly obvious. This is going back to the movie part. This is part of they should have wrote this part of the script a little bit better. Of course he's going to come in and save the day with TikTok. So, but I'm seeing a lot of like very, very supercharged savior type language around this guy. And it's super fascinating to me because you guys forgot how quick what he did when he was in office. This is the point right now we're in human consciousness, where if we're not conscientiously thinking about governing self and contributing something to be able for us to be able to govern self, that's my challenge to the 144,000, the chosen ones who choose themselves. That's my challenge to you. We have to be creating something. We have to be formulating ideas. We have to be building things that add value to the collective consciousness, that are helping us to find higher ground, higher physical ground in the case of storms, in the case of poverty, in the case of homelessness, higher spiritual ground in terms of the way we're operating in the world and the way we conceive ourselves versus this notion of God and a higher power, and our impact on the rest of not only the humanity, but the world, our contribution to the collective or lack thereof. On an emotional level, understanding your heart chakra and your vibrational resonance, and the fact that whatever you go out into the world, you're imprinting on the people that you come in contact with. Is it love or is it fear? Is it hatred? Is it envy? Is it optimism? Is it chaos? Is it uncertainty? Is it self-doubt? Is it self-love? Spiritual goals and aspirations. Mental goals and aspirations. What are we mentally projecting and creating in the world? I'm very proud of myself and happy of my representation of my mental imprint that I've been putting out for these last few weeks. I'm very proud of the fact that I could sit down and have a conversation with a large number of people and talk for more than 7 hours and hold your attention. That shit is fascinating to me. And all praises is due to the Most High, because I don't even remember half of what I said. Great white hope, shock and awe. It's giving me Antichrist vibes. I can't lie. We need to, and I say this, and I'm not even gonna. I can't even really say it like emphatically because it's not even really something that can be emphasized or like carried out, right? But you know what I want to say. I'm just gonna say what I want to say, and then I'm gonna like clean it up. This is just a pure uncut thing that I wrote down in my notes. Stop giving God credit for the shit that the devil did. Now let me just let that percolate in the ethers 1 second while I drink this water. Stop giving God credit for shit the devil did. All the super spiritual metaphysics people that will say, well, it's God, it's all God anyway. Put a pin in that for a second. I want to talk to, this is one of those times in the season itself where we got to deal with the reality on the ground. Because from the spiritual aspect of this, we're here to be of service and raise the vibration. Not act like these things aren't happening. I need for the people who are tuned in and who are tapped in and who are striving for something better and who are tired of the dynamics of this world and who are ready to thrive and ready to be surrounded by people that are vibrating love and vibrating a higher sense of consciousness. We got to go out in the world and start creating the things that reflect the kingdom of God. That's why I wrote Ancient People. That's why I created my website. That's why I'm working on the parent teacher guide for Ancient People. Right? Adding value into the ecosystem of humanity. So the builders add value a certain type of way. The midwives and the doulas add value in a certain type of way. The farmers and the agriculturists add value in a certain type of way. The writers and the poets add value in a certain type of way. The book writers and authors, the singers, the dancers, right? We all add value in a certain type of way. We got to really start honing in on that concept because people are being swayed way too easily. On the other side, these people are dangerous to me. If somebody can come and sell you narcotics and something that is damaging, that ends up damaging your whole entire family, and then turn around and say, oh, my bad, that's what they told me it was good for you and it wasn't good for you at all, and then continues to promote it. But at the same time, everybody's like, oh, he got misled, he got hoodwinked. Okay, cool. But at least the second time I'm gonna be watching you a little bit closer. The fact that people have forgotten what happened under Trump's watch and Project Warp Speed, half of his followers don't even know what that is. Half of the people listening to this might not know what it is. It makes things on the ground complicated. The NPCs, and I'm not calling anyone particular an NPC, but if you are not paying attention, then you might, you know what I mean? Might be something you might have to start pondering. Am I going with the flow or am I creating the flow? Building the kingdom of God is about creating the flow. So I want to inspire creation of the flow with you first, though, because none of this shit's going to work if you don't love you. None of it. This is what they don't want to tell you this is what they don't want to tell you in the churches and in the temples. The people that are pointing you in the book and forcing you to keep reading the book and submit to the book and submit to this and this and this and this. None of this shit works if you don't love yourself. Spirituality, metaphysics, chanting, frequencies, crystals, Bible, Quran, Taoism, Kemetic metaphysics, Egyptian schools, mystery school systems, Pan-Africanism, Black consciousness. None of this shit works if you don't believe in yourself. So I'm here to help you believe in yourself, to add my contribution to that end. Fine-tuning the frequency is about how we think, how we feel, how we eat, how we live, and how we breathe. How we think, how we feel, how we eat, how we live, and how we breathe. And then understanding the seasons of yourself. Okay, are we gonna play or what? Oh, it's buffering. Understanding and respecting the wisdom of your higher self, the wisdom of the God body expressing through you, the wisdom of the mind of God. That's a better way for me to say that. Expressing through you and telling you when to stop, when to be still, and when to move forward. Who to keep around you and who to get rid of. And a lot of us already know the people that we need to get rid of. And we wonder why we keep running in circles of chaos, because they're clouding that energetic residue from those relationships is clouding your vibration. So your signal's weak. Just like if you are sexually active with somebody that has a weak signal or a weak vibration, it's going to weaken yours. unless you are continuously doing the things that it takes to up the ante on your vibration through your breath, through how you eat, through how you think, through how you feel, etc. That's why that concept of water seeks its own level makes perfect sense on a vibrational level. Everywhere you go, there you are. You leave America and run to Africa, everywhere you go, there are. You leave Africa and run to America, there you are. So vibration is the name of this game. Vibration is the name of the kingdom of God. Where are you in your consciousness? Where are you in your awareness? How are you thinking? How are you feeling? How are you treating yourself? How are you assessing your life? What do you expect in terms of relationships? If you operating on the I don't trust anybody frequency, 2025 moving forward is going to be very difficult for you because that's a closed heart chakra. That's a heart chakra with a minimum capacity. Because if you don't trust anybody, why should anybody trust you? So I think I've made my point. I've talked for an hour. I didn't say everything in my notes, but I think I'm going to leave it there. If you want to support the campaign, if you want to take advantage of the ebook sale that I'm having right now, all of my ebooks are 50% off. You purchase it and then you go, my brain. Purchase the ebook and it will be sent to you immediately via email. That's the workbook, Metaphysics Workbook Bundle. That's my Practical Steps to Health and Well-Being ebook. And then that's all of my workbooks individually. You can purchase the ebook and it will come straight to you by email and then you can download it. All of those books are 50% off. Los Angeles, January 25th, 2025, which is next Saturday. I will be speaking live at Soul Folks. Information in the description about that as well. What else? Everything else I said. All right. So I'll see y'all beautiful people very soon. Peace and love.